What's going on, guys? Back at it again with another video. Today's video is about momentum. So I'm going to break this down in a super easy way. I feel like that it's really easy to understand, and by the end of this video, you'll want to get started right away. Okay, so the first thing you have to understand about momentum is that starting is the hardest part. So let's zoom on this real quick. So here's why starting is very hard. Or it's the biggest hump to get over, if you want to say that. It's not necessarily hard, it's just there's a mental block in a lot of people's brains to start, and that's because it is scary. You're scared of mistakes, you're scared, you're second guessing yourself, and that's because you don't have any self-belief. And most people are right to think that way. A lot of people don't have self-belief because they haven't done anything worth of belief. They haven't done anything to grant them belief in themselves. They've been normal, they've been average their entire life. They've only stuck to easy things. They haven't taken any risks, and they've been comfortable their entire life. And so with no self-belief, starting can be very scary, because a lot of people think that they don't have what it takes. They see these people who have quote unquote made it in life, who have the things that they want, and their next step of thinking is, oh, that person was chosen, that person was destined for that, he was meant to do that. And sure, maybe he was, but are you to say you're not meant for something great too? Because unless we're talking about maybe like a sport or something, you can really do anything. You can make it in any business you want. It's about trying, it's about growing, it's about, just putting in the effort consistently. And so if you start, you've already beat, I'd say 80% of everybody. Beat 90% of everybody in the world. And so starting's one big leap of faith as well. But as you start, you get up on that slope and you just continue to go down, and the work starts to get easier. And that's where I want to move on to my next thing, the little graph I made of momentum. So imagine this. You're at the start. You do a little bit of work, you see almost no progress. But as you keep doing it, as you keep winning, you start to go up more and more and more until you just grow exponentially. So what I want to reiterate here is that for the first month or two, maybe even 3 months, you're not going to see any results. You're going to have to do the work for the sake of yourself, and not for the sake of how much money you're going to make, how much this and this and that. You can't be result driven. So you have to be willing to start. You have to be willing to put the work in for little to no results, so that when you're up here and you're growing at a rate that you can't even imagine right now, you'll thank yourself for starting. And so let's move on to the next one. Okay. So what a lot of people think about is they're too scared. Once they keep going, once they keep making these wins, they think, okay, well, I can't afford a loss, because if I lose, then all my hard work will go to nothing. I'll have to start over. And that's just not true. I mean, who knows? You might, lose one. Everybody loses. Jeff Bezos today still loses out on things, but does that mean he has to start over Amazon? No, he doesn't. So I'm telling you that if you are winning right now and you're too scared to do something that could either make you exponentially grow, or something that could really, really, take a hit on what you're trying to do, I'd say take the risk, because if you don't make mistakes, you can't learn. And if you can't learn, you can't grow. Mistakes are part of the process. No matter where you're going to be right now, if you're making $100,000 a month, if you're super far along with your business, or you're just starting, you're still going to make mistakes. And that's what a lot of people successful realize. And that's the gap between a regular person and a very successful person, is that the successful person realizes that in order to win, they have to fail. But the successful person might also realize that, and they're just not willing to do that. They're not even willing to try. They're not willing to follow their dreams for something they believe in. They're just willing to take the easy route out and get a job that they hate and live a life that they hate because they're comfortable. And the second thing, when you make mistakes, you cannot dwell on them. You cannot get hung up on them. You have to realize when you make a mistake, that's a learning. That's something you learned. You have to think about it in a positive way, because if you're not going to think about it in a positive way, mistakes are truly detrimental. Now, mistakes, I think, are very, very beneficial until you make the same mistakes over and over again. A one-time mistake will teach you, but if you keep making that same mistake, it becomes just a burden. It becomes something bad. So a mistake, don't look at a mistake as something bad unless you keep making it over and over again. Take it as a learning experience, think about it positively, and move on. Now, to think about it in an easier way, I made this graph, and as you know, I trade, so this is an uptrend. Okay, so we have a higher low, a higher high, higher low, higher high. So think about this as your success. Okay, you're doing great right now. You make a little mistake, but hey, that helps you learn. And you keep going up. See, this is momentum. This is still momentum. I know that this looks like momentum. This looks like you're not making any mistakes, but that's not realistic. This is over time, but this is like your month to month. Like, you should be improving. Hey, you make a mistake, you improve more, you reach a higher high. And that's how many people's journeys are going to go. Now, this would look very different if you stop after that one mistake, if you let that mistake get to you. If you just keep dwelling on these mistakes and you keep making the same mistakes again, you'd be trending downwards. But no, you do work, you make a mistake, it's fine. You reach a higher high, make some mistake, higher high, mistake, higher high, mistake, higher high, mistake, higher high. That's momentum. That is real momentum. Notice how nowhere in this graph are you making a lower low. This is momentum. This is momentum. So I want you to remember this graph. I want you to remember that you're not going to be perfect, that you're going to have to make some mistakes to grow, and all this is shedding your old skin. So after the mistake, what you didn't know, you know now. So you're at a higher high. Okay. Now, this is the last step, I think, of momentum. And that once you find success, once you find your first win, you become euphoric. You become like it's a feeling you've never felt before. And like any type of drug that enhances your senses, that creates a high, you get a high from winning. You get a high from success. And you become addicted to that high. So now the work that it takes to get to that win or success, it becomes easier. You want to do it. It becomes the top thing on your priority list. There's no more excuses for, oh, I can't do it because I'm too tired. No, you're going to keep chasing after that win, and after that, another one, another one, another one. So once you're up here and you taste that little bit of success, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you work like a madman, and now suddenly you're all the way up here. So I'm telling you, once you feel that first win, and the first one is going to be the hardest win, I'll tell you that. The first one is going to be the hardest win. But after you experience that first win, it's going to be nothing like it. And I promise you, everything in this video will help you build momentum to reach your dreams. I thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry I've been a little bit inconsistent. This is my first video in about a week, I believe. But yeah, I'll definitely be pushing out a video a week from now. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.